Well, hello everyone. Happy Friday. This is your Wish Fulfilled Friday, and I'm Athena Raven bringing to you the success stories, the wonderful success stories that you guys are very generously sharing with me. And today's success story is from a subscriber of mine. It's not her own success story, it's actually that of her grandparents, but it's such a cute story that she thought it would really inspire a lot of you because it's something that she's been using to inspire her on her manifestation journey. She is currently manifesting a specific person, and she says she uses what her grandfather did and his mindset as a means to gaining success, and also success in all areas of her life. She has tried to adopt her grandfather's mindset. So perhaps this would intrigue you, especially those of you who are maybe in a situation whereby, and this is true for anything you're manifesting, this isn't just about a specific person, but your 3D circumstances are telling you no. You can see what you want. You can really feel it. You just put your intention there. That's what I want. That's the person that I want to be with. This is the situation that I'm after. That's the job I can see myself in. You can really feel that that's your outcome, that's what you desire, right? But everything around you is telling you this is an impossibility. You're not going to have this. This specific person is not interested in you, and there's no proof or evidence as to why they should ever be interested in you. If anything, there's differences here. The family are going to be against it. They're not showing any interest. They don't even like you in that way. I don't know what your circumstance might be, but many of us have been in a situation that is similar and can relate to what do you do when everything is telling you no, no, no all the time? How do we continuously persist? And are we sort of being crazy here when we are persisting in our dreams and goals? Because what if you get turned down once, twice, three times, seven times, 50 times? In this case, seven times. Seven times. He was getting a no. Until you finally got that yes. So let's find out what happened. What was the mindset here? And maybe you can apply it to your own journeys, no matter what you're manifesting. Because remember, this is true of anything that you are manifesting. So I hope that you've got a nice drink, relax in the sun if you've got it. We've got essence of it here in the UK, and I'm using my microphone. I did purchase a microphone. Can you believe it's not compatible with my phone? What the hell? See, this is why I don't mess with technology, guys. So anyway, sit back and relax, and let's see what she shares with us, because this is a really cute story. I had a quick read of it before, and I can't see anything because it's so bright out here. So here we go. Hi, Athena. Thank you for giving me the chance to share this really cute but quite inspiring success story about manifesting the love of your life. I often think of this story as I'm on my own specific person manifestation journey. I can't take credit for the story as it isn't my own, but it belongs to my grandfather. You know how grandparents are. They love to share the story of how they met your grandmother. Obviously, back then, he didn't know that he was manifesting or about the law of assumption, but I can see how his intentions and persistence made his desire become a reality. He met my grandmother. So he met my grandmother at a fair when they were still quite young. He knew instantly that he was attracted to her and he wanted to be with her. He told me how he had said to his friends, "That's the woman I'm going to marry." He was just adamant and convinced that he had met the love of his life at that moment in time. He knew that she would be the mother of his children. He said that he could see it there and then. And then she puts in brackets, haha, my grandfather did a real time imaginal act, I guess you could say. At this time, my grandmother was a couple of years younger than him. I believe they were in their early 20s. She came from a very privileged background, which was a massive contrast to my grandfather, who had grown up in a poor working class family. My grandmother would not even entertain my grandfather at this time. She always told me that she was not interested in him in the slightest. She was not attracted to him, and even if she did like him on some level, she said she would not have considered him as a husband because her family would not have approved. He was a bit of a rebel in his time, and she was quite the opposite. I can hear her telling me he was such a teddy boy, and it just didn't appeal to her. Anyway, that didn't stop my grandfather from asking her out at the fair and trying to court her, as he would say back in those days. Oh, don't know what my laptop's doing here. as he would say back in those days. She absolutely rejected him, no interest at all. I asked him if he was upset by that, but he said he wasn't really because he knew that she would be his wife. She just didn't know it yet. How is that for confidence, right? You should see my grandfather's face when he told me this story because honestly, he is that cheeky chap with a hint of arrogance, but in a sweet way. So apparently, my grandfather didn't see or hear anything of my grandmother after that night until a couple of months later through another social gathering. I think perhaps their friendship groups were mildly linked together. Again, at this gathering, he made a beeline for her, but again, she turned him down. Now, my grandfather was not one to take no for an answer. And I've learned valuable lessons from him. He made an incredible success of his life despite coming from a working class background. He strived for better and he went to school and university to gain the qualifications to become a doctor, working hard to save and study to get his dream career. His intention was strong, and he was determined to make something of himself, just as determined as he was to get the girl of his dreams. But she was showing no interest in him at all. I wish I could show you all a video of my grandparents talking about this story because it was the cutest thing, and, and it would ignite a spark between them to reminisce on this. It was as though they were those kids again. Anyway, I'm not too sure of all of the details. All I know is that my grandfather wasn't taking no for an answer. He carried on with his life. He even dated other girls. He was very handsome in his youth, and many women found him desirable, except for my grandmother, of course. But he said he knew they were all just filler because his wife was still out there waiting to realize he was the one for her. As time progressed, he would see my grandmother out and about in social gatherings or in their local area. He would always go up to her, flirt with her, and, as he would say, try to woo her. But she wasn't having any of it any time. She always turned him down. She even had another boyfriend as well. I asked my grandfather if that ever put him off and what made him continuously ask her out when she was showing no interest at all. He said to me, "When you know what you want, you will stop at nothing to get it." He always had the mindset that things always worked out. If you were strongly determined, then nothing could stop you. I think, and please don't think badly of my grandfather here, but he flirted with my grandmother in front of her boyfriend on one occasion and even got into a scuffle with the other boy over it. Like I say, my grandfather is a bit bold and shameless at times. I try to apply his mindset in my own manifestation journey, and I have seen so much success in all areas of my life. I'm hoping it will have the same effect on my specific person manifestation. Anyway, I think a few years passed with my grandfather consistently bumping into my grandmother and trying his hardest to get her attention. He would even try to get messages across to her through other friends. It was so different in those days without mobile phones. He didn't know and he didn't care if she was dating anyone else. He didn't care if he was dating. He knew that she was his wife, and he tells me how he couldn't see anyone else in his vision. They were so compatible in his mind, and he felt in his heart the love that they could have. I feel such mixed emotions right now because my grandfather passed away recently. So it's kind of sad, but it also makes me happy to go back to him telling me these stories of his life. Oh, bless you, darling. One day, he met my grandmother again at another occasion and, in his cocky self, managed to convince her to give him a chance and go on a date. My grandmother always said that she was reluctant, but his persistence made her decide to give in. Suddenly, she abandoned all concerns about what her family would think, and she could see that this boy was determined to win her heart. So they went on a date. Of course, it went really well. She said something happened that night when they had their first date. Something changed within her, and she saw him very differently. Of course, my grandfather had said from the beginning that he would marry her. She dismissed this, but he was right. A year later, they were married. He got his qualifications and he became a doctor. He made amazing money and they lived a very good life together. The thing I take from my grandfather's story is how determined he was. I admire his energy, his charisma, and his ability to not take no for an answer. This reminds me, Athena, of your video where you read out Neville's lecture, Brazen Impudence. The whole idea of not taking no for an answer and just keep on knocking because eventually you have to get a yes. My grandfather did that for everything in his life: the woman he loved, the career he wanted, the lifestyle. He was self-made in his wealth, and he took care of my grandmother without the help of her family, who, by the way, were not impressed at first, but eventually accepted him. Thank you for letting me share this little success story. Every time my grandfather would tell me about it, his face would light up. As I was watching your client's successes, Athena, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I know of so many success stories, not only of my own, but within my family. I could share some of my own, but I never had success with a specific person yet. I'm still young and new to the law. However, this just goes to show that you don't need to know about how to consciously manifest. 7 times my grandmother rejected my grandfather, by the way. 7 times she told him no over the years. She was not interested and she turned her back. Even when she was dating someone else, my grandfather still didn't accept the no. He had decided that he would marry her one day. She was out of his league, out of his class, and it didn't matter to him. It just spurred him on even more to make something of his life and fulfill his role as the doting husband that would provide for his wife. I hope everyone finds this as inspiring as I do. I hope to find love with someone, just like my grandparents did. They were married for 48 years. And that is beautiful, just beautiful. And I totally relate to you, Han. Grandparents have the best stories, don't they? And I sometimes wish I sat with my grandfather more and would listen to some of his incredible stories. And he told me some amazing things. And I'm sure you guys have been through the same as well. But you see, this is the importance of the persistence element. And I know maybe some of you will be thinking, oh, but he's kind of chasing her. He's kind of, don't forget, we're going back in time to a time where it was quite commonplace for men to make the first move. And he was being brazen, not out of desperation. There's a difference here. It was a determination and a knowing and a not giving up. And so in that mindset, he was moved to make those moves. He was moved to pursue her every time he saw her. He was moved to not worry about if there was a third party in the picture or not worry that she said no. Did you notice that he remained steadfast in his state, which is not an easy thing to do, but he remained quite steadfast in it, even in the face of no, you know? And this is the difference between success and failure for a lot of people. But you see, we're not saying that you need to be hyper-focused on one thing, stop your life, chase and push and force someone. It's a different energy here. It's, like I say, it's a period of time where men would woo the women more and stuff. You know, it was a man's role to come in and to do all of that. It's a different period of time as well. So the mindset is different, but he was not doing it out of lack, out of neediness, out of desperation. It was more of a, I know where I stand in this. I know that you're still waiting to catch up. You haven't figured out that you're going to be my wife yet, but you're going to. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep on pushing to show you that I'm serious and that I'm not going anywhere. Because I think it was it was a couple of years or whatever gap from the very first no to the first date that he finally got. But in that period of silence, in that period of not bumping into each other, he was still living his life. He was still dating. She was still dating. And always in the back of his mind, he just knew and had the faith anyway, because she was telling me about this. It's just so lovely to see these things unwind. But if you're uncertain, the video that she's referring to is where I read out one of Neville Goddard's lectures, Brazen Impudence. I think I was going to do a playlist actually where I read out some of Neville's teachings, and I didn't really get round to creating more of those. But if you're interested, that's kind of along the lines of actually how Neville also met his wife, I believe, how he manifested his specific person. So you might see actually some similarities. They would have been in a similar era, but again, it's just that brazenness, it's that knowing, it's that I don't take no for an answer, because you're 3D. is going to tell you no, because your 3D is currently telling you no. That's why you desire for something, right? You don't have it in the 3D. So we're desiring from it. We're in want, we're in lack for it. That's why we use our imagination. We connect with our God self, consciousness, source, universe. We connect with that and become aware of what we could have. Let's not just make it a possibility anymore. Let's make it a real probability. Let's make it a reality that can be realized. And that's all he could see. Did you notice as well when he saw the grandmother? I always analyze the words of these. He said the vision, in his vision, he could see, this is the girl I'm going to marry. This is the woman who's going to have my children. He could see it. So he did an imaginal act, as you were saying, darling. There he did imaginal act there and then. He decided this was it. He decided it was done. And he stayed true to that. You would notice as well with actors and these famous people who are constantly like Jim Carrey is a very he's renowned for having manifested a lot of things. He believes in the law. That's how he manifested his first 10 million. He wrote himself a check. He would go and he would imagine getting offered this money, this role. And it was his role in The Mask, I believe, his first movie, that gave him that 10 million check that he actually got to fulfill. But he wrote it and signed it to himself. He said, one day I'm going to cash this. One day I'm going to cash this. And he kept on imagining and feeling that. And then he would go and continue as playing that part as that actor, as in playing the part of this actor who was famous, who was renowned. Same with J.K. Rowling, I believe. Imagine, she wrote her book. She had complete faith in it. She was an author before she became an author. She had a published book before it actually happened in her 3D. She wasn't being delusional. She just knew, she had faith in her writing. And she went, what I recall from the story, she went from publisher to publisher. She got turned down a lot. 3D said no to her a fair amount, but it was her brazenness and her continuing in the belief in herself that got her to the right publisher at the right time. And the rest, as they say, is history, right? So why does 3D have to say no to us a few times? It's all part of your bridge. You're not being tested at all. Maybe she went to the wrong publisher first. Maybe it wasn't meant to be that one, not meant to be that one. It had to be this specific one at this specific time where she could really make a fame, fortune, make a success of herself. Essentially, there is a reason why it happens when it does and in the way that it does. And we don't need to worry about that because that's all taken care of. But I really hope that this helped to inspire you if you're going through a bit of a rough patch. See, it can be as simple as that. There's no techniques all day long. There's no delulu practice here. There's no craziness. There's no nothing. There's just getting on with your life, having made that strong. That's why you can manifest with just a strong, determined decision. And that's it. Yeah, I've got this decision. I've decided that. I can see myself doing that. That's it. And I won't entertain any other prospect. And I'm not being desperate, and I'm not being psycho and stalking and harassing someone. I'm literally just like, I'm not taking no for an answer. All right, I've been rejected this time. Maybe next time is the yes. Or I've been rejected again. All right, maybe next time is the yes. But it's about the mindset, okay? Less about the actions. The actions are controlled by your state of being, but it's all about the mindset. That's all you need to do is change your mind. Are you brazen in your desire? Have you decided that it's yours? Is it done? Then the rest of it is taken care of. Go and enjoy your weekend and have fun. So I really hope that this helped you out. Thank you for joining me. If you want to stay tuned for more manifestation success stories, hypnosis, various other things, I ask you to subscribe if you haven't done so already. We're a growing community of serious manifestors. And I love and appreciate all of you for being here. I'll see you in the next video.